Hey, friends. So tonight over dinner, I was reminded of a particularly satisfying or clever turn of phrase in the book The Gift by Lewis Hyde. And a little bit of context, I've been talking some about this in my past several posts, but it's a book um, about gifts and gift economies and social structures that are organized around at least partly gift economies. The alternative to a gift economy being a commodity economy, and a gift economy is kind of what it sounds like. Things move around the community as gifts, whereas commodities are bought and sold either for cash or they're traded, bartered. You give so many things of equivalent value to a thing you get back, right? It's still a commodity because it's being traded. It's not being given ostensibly with no obligation to return the gift, although that's not really true. We all know that giving a gift or receiving a gift does actually create a sense of obligation. And these societies and these economies that operate this way not only acknowledge that, but have some pretty specific prescriptive rules about how the gift has to be treated once it's been given, what the reciprocities needs to look like, etc. So, but the one there's a point in the first couple of hours of the audiobook, chapter 3 or 4 maybe, where he talks specifically about how gifts, when they are received, they in many gift economies, and depending on the gift here, but to a large degree, the gift after it's received is seen to accrue more value if it's used up. And in some ways, a gift can only remain a gift if it is used up. A gift that is received and then somehow invested or stored for future use, or invested for with the idea of producing a return on it, that destroys the inherent the fabric of the gift. It destroys the identity of the gift and turns it into something else. And this is where we kind of get this crossover between gift and commodity. But because a gift has to be consumed in order for it to be, in order for it to remain a gift, and he does a lot of talking about how what makes a gift economy work is the fact that gifts remain in motion. Things move in either in cycles or in networks where there's a continued recycling of the gifts and of the giving. And this principle of a gift needs to be consumed in order to be valued, and in order for the receiver to be considered honorable, produces a kind of just a different perspective on what it means to give, what it means to receive, and what it means to own property, which I think in many gift economies is not a thing, but rather to steward property, to steward goods, value, because the value that there's another point in this early part of the book where he talks about the big man in town, or the big woman in town, the big person in town is the one who's given themselves most most completely, most exhaustively. And there's a weird sort of topsy-turviness to that concept for those of us who come from more of like a capitalist market economy type culture, which of course 99% of us do, where the big man or woman is the one who's collected the most, who's gathered the most value, has managed to accumulate the most resources. It's a different perspective. There's a different sense of honor there. And it's really, I have not finished the book yet. I mean, I've read this book before, but I've not gotten to the end of it this second time. And I can tell already, I'm going to have to, as soon as I get to the last page, I'm going to have to just go right back to the beginning. But there's a way in which this really resonates with me. I think because I can't quite put my finger on it, but I think something in my nature maybe appreciates this idea that value is meant to be put to use. That doesn't mean value needs to be exhausted or consumed in the capitalist sense, but it needs to be, value should be in circulation, right? Value should be moving around in society, in a community, because that's what it's supposed to do, right? I mean, that's how we nurture and enrich. That's what abundance in a society means. And I mean, Lewis Hyde is this is a very nuanced analysis, and he's by no means saying gift economies are better than commodity economies. And he acknowledges kind of throughout his analysis that there are ways in which commodity economies actually are vastly superior for certain kinds of social development to be able to take place. It's not just that we should go back to everything being a gift economy. That's not his point. It's not at all his thesis, and it's not a judgment of capitalism in that sense. What it does do is highlight and illuminate some of the things that we take for granted in a commodity setting, a commodity-based economy, that we might not be aware of taking for granted, that we might just kind of, we see the world through the lens of property ownership, value accumulation, capital investment, return on investment. We see these are the kind of market principles that we apply to not just the market and not just our financial lives, but they become the way we think about value in general. And again, that's not wrong. It's not worse than thinking of value as being a gift. But if we can't appreciate both, if we can't sort of like, if we're not even really aware of the way that these gift economies, gift cycles work, what they are, how value is held within those structures, then it's almost like, you know, being from one religion and not being able to understand how someone else from another religion expresses their views of the divine. Being kind of unable to translate into terminology that's not the terminology we use. And so I think that's why I'm appreciating reading the book and being so just getting this tour of this way of thinking again. It's bringing me back to, and especially because I know where the book is going, it's going towards an analysis of art. And Hyde's thesis is that art, if it's true art, has to contain a component of gift. It has to be a gift on some level. That doesn't mean we can't be paid for our art. Doesn't mean that when a piece of art is sold, it automatically becomes not art because now it's been turned into a commodity rather than a gift. Not that simple, but there are constraints placed upon the way in which art can be commodified before it starts to lose its essential nature as art, when that gift element starts to be either squeezed out of it or ignored or just completely made irrelevant by the fact that the product is operating entirely within a commodity setting. So all of this is why this book is fascinating to me. And if you've listened to my posts regularly, you've probably heard me talk about this a number of times now. I'm going to probably keep coming back to it because I'm only like not even maybe a quarter, maybe a third of the way through the book. But the phrase that he said, and this goes back to the idea that a gift can only remain a gift if it is consumed, was, as opposed to thinking in capitalist terms, you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? That's the old adage goes, you can't both have your cake and eat it too. Because if you eat your cake, then you don't have it. And if you have your cake, you can only have it as long as you don't eat it, right? Well, his thing is in a gift economy. Not only can you have your cake and eat it too, but you can't have your cake unless you eat it. Unless the gift is consumed, it ceases to be a gift. It's not a gift. And I'm not positing a different logical conclusion to that phrase, but I'm saying it's an elegant turn of phrase, and it's a kind of fun Zen koan-like way to think about when we receive value as a gift rather than as a commodity or as something that we quantify and say, I have this many cakes, I have this many dollars, right? I have this many pieces of gold. When we receive something as a gift, the value is as a gift, and we have to consume it in order to receive it. And we have to consume it in order to be able to pass it on or pass it back. And I find that fascinating. It trips my mind up and makes me all of a sudden understand value in a different way. So that's what I got today, folks. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you very soon.